Turn down the
All
music
right.
a little bit.
Yes. All right. Looks like we're live. Let me
We-
retweet this because I don't think it got retweeted.
Let's see. Hello, everyone. Welcome to DevRel Hack Week.
Yes, welcome to the stream. All right. Can we see on here if there's actually people joining?
Yes. So it says it usually gives you a counter by like the live encounter thing, or the
Gotcha.
live in the timer. Yeah, I don't see the stream on your Twitter, but we are live somewhere.
Okay. It's on my YouTube and on my Twitch. Didn't use my Twitter. Maybe I should have used my
You
Twitter
should use
too.
your Twitter. We should like kill it, go live again.
Oh, there's Toby.
Hey, look,
There was
there's
a
people.
few people coming. Okay. All right.
All right, let's just tweet the actual link.
Yes, I did retweet the actual link from the dev account, so that should get people in slowly.
Oh, Solana Devs?
Yep.
Oh, okay, cool. Welcome, everyone.
All right. Welcome to the stream. All right, Jacob, do you want to start us off by explaining a bit what we're doing this week?
Yes. So this week, Guy and I are on a team. We're always on a team, but we're on a special team this week. This week, we're doing on the developer relations team here at Solana Foundation. We're doing a hackathon week, where the DevRel here will be building projects and trying to experience the pains of developers on Solana, which we do often, but let's do it to a nth degree to this week, and then also try to either solve something or figure out something new and inspiring for other developers to build with. And so we are building a specific project, and Guy, I'll let you talk about it since you've been doing a lot of it so far.
Yes. I might even share screen just to give an idea of what we will be doing. So yes, we are trying to think of what would a dev platform look like for devs on Solana, because there's a lot of things that are not easy for people to do. For example, getting an airdrop the first time, getting your test Sol on DevNet is not always easy because you can't get rate limited, might not be clear which you have to write code to do this. So we're trying to think of a platform that lets you simplify a bit of these actions, like getting your airdrop and maybe even deploying programs without having to have a lot of test Sol from DevNet. So should we maybe share a bit about the architecture?
Yeah, go for it. Do you have
Okay.
the Scala draw, or
I think so.
let's
Okay,
make this bigger?
that's wait. I think I need to check up on our conversation for the new one, because this is another escalator of me explaining XPL tokens to people. All right, let us. Okay, all right. How is this looking on size?
You should probably make us really tiny.
Okay, let me check up on to do that. Thank you, everybody, for your patience.
There we go.
This is a new platform. There we go. All right. So Jacob, do you want to explain a bit this architecture to people?
Sure. So what we're doing is we're trying to solve two problems with this, right? We're trying to solve airdrops and then deploying programs. So this architecture right now is we have basically a user, instead of calling just this airdrop service via CLI, well, you'd be a different CLI, but via CLI that sends a transaction, signs and all that. Well, it doesn't actually sign, but sends a transaction to an RPC, and then it does some kind of like back-end thing that then sends you a airdrop, and whether or not you get rate limited, you don't know, as Gia said. We're kind of doing it with an API, just REST service API key. You call an API or an airdrop service, an API endpoint for airdrops. It'll hit some RPC, which will then store your information of like where you are on the rate limit, so you can see it at any point in time, and then give you the airdrop, right? It's like that is something that everybody is familiar with. in just general tech, right? You if you want to access an API, you provision an API key, you get your API key, you hit some API, and you can view your rate limits all via a dashboard. So that's kind of like the idea for this airdrop service. And then secondly, if you look at the bottom here, the other problem that we were trying to solve is deploying programs. There was a lot of discussion a couple weeks ago of like, hey, why doesn't Solana Foundation just fund all program deployments? And yes, we could do that, but let's do it in a smart way that is even easier than having to go through some weird program that Solana Foundation has to set up. Let's make a program that can deploy other programs and have some PDA that has Sol in it to then load the program. So right now, if you deploy a Anchor program, the base Anchor program, it'll cost something like, I think it's like 3 Sol, if I remember correctly, for the base Anchor program. And that would come straight from your wallet as a signer if you use the current Anchor deploy or Solana deploy, program deploy CLI commands. Instead, what we can do is use a CLI to deploy your program, and it will send, instead of transactions directly to the loader program, we'll send them to a wrapper program, which we've called it a deployment program, basically here. And then that will use its funds to load, to then do CPIs and deploy your program on chain. Now, there's some catches for this because you're like, oh, free Sol, fantastic, love it. The catch is the authority of the deployed program will not be you. It will be the program itself, a PDA off the program. It's whether or not it's the vault PDA. It's actually a different PDA, and me actually building this since we wrote this diagram. It's a PDA that's the authority of your deploy program, and you have X amount of time. Currently, I have it coded as a week to then pay off the loan. Otherwise, the program can be deployed or can be closed. Your deployed program can be closed. So it's basically a way to kind of give you a stopgap of, hey, can I get users on my deployed program before it gets closed? And if I can't get users, then that's it. I'm done basically. And also another way, and actually now I'm talking about this, I think we should totally do this, is that for this deployed program, if you have, if you don't have the Sol, but your community that is building on top of your deployed program and really enjoys working on your deployed program has the Sol, they should be able to permissionlessly pay off the deployment costs and then not have that program get closed. I don't have that implemented, but I just said that, and I think it's totally a great idea.
Totally. Let's do it.
So yeah, these are the two problems that we're trying to solve right now with what we're building, as just like a way to make it easier for people to onboard onto Solana and just build out of the gate. Now, note there's a few things is that like this little program loop that we have here, you could actually make money in a real product off of this if you're not at Foundation. Hint, hint to everybody that's watching this probably. uh, to where you can actually add a lending market of, hey, if I deployed a program, I have to pay X% more Sol in order to keep my program deployed and transfer the authority later. And then those go back to the depositors. That's an option, but ultimately we're not doing that because this is the program that we're going to be building. So this is just part of our hackathon for the DevRel team at Foundation.
And Jacob, if I can add something here for people who are interested in trying this out, we're building this live on GitHub. So I think we called it Solana Foundation. The repo, by the way, I'll put the repo in the chat, but we did open source it as we build it. I think obviously don't use this for production right away. This is not something that is ready for production use. But as we always do, we're working in public on this. If anybody is interested in seeing us push as we go and seeing us vibe coding with Claude also, as the contributors are highlighted on here.
Yes, Claude is our best friend here.
Yes. What do you think we should do? Maybe an overview of what we have so far on the code base?
Sure, go for it.
Okay. So does that switch over? No, I have to stop sharing. Give me a second. We'll reshare with my other screen. Okay. This is not the one I wanted to share. All right, this is tedious as a first time. Thank you everybody for your patience. Hackathon fall. Let me see, make sure I have the right one. Okay, there we go. The problem of having too many repos open at once. All right. How are we looking on font size? It's probably too big. Gonna close this to get a few bit of real estate. So, all right. So we have organized this in a mono repo. So we are using a few tools. We have an API, which allows you to do all of this behind an API key. Because like you mentioned, Jacob, this is a great tool, but obviously to consume these services, if you have to dig yourself into the Solana CLI to call this the developer experience, is not going to gain any improvement. So instead, we are trying to do all of this available as a REST API, a CLI, and all of this driven by API keys. So CLI is non-existent so far. Right now, we have a beginning of an API, which is using Nest.js, which is a framework. I don't know. I think we had a conversation yesterday where we discussed what language to use. And can you tell people our little disagreement on
That's
this?
it's not a disagreement. It's an embarrassment on my end. Guy asked me what language are you most familiar on backend, and I embarrassingly said Java because it's true. I have 6 years of Java Spring experience in like in an enterprise software, so it's like okay, that's the answer. But whether or not I want to do Java, the answer is no. I don't want to do Java. I absolutely don't. So I said like the things that we potentially could do is I suggested either Rust, Golang, or just some kind of Node.js framework. And Guy has introduced me to Nest.js, which is Nest.js feels like you took a Spring engineer and you said make a Node.js a framework because it's exactly what it looks like. It looks like Spring Boot, which hey, I know Spring very very well, but wow, okay, thanks, Guy.
Trying to make to make everybody's life easier. But for the people who are not familiar with Nest.js, if you do a Node.js Express server on your own and you're building your backend, you're doing a lot of things by hand. And the first time you do these things, like installing a middleware, doing the parsing of cookies, all of this takes a lot of time. And this is likely not what you want to be building when you're building a hackathon. Me and Jacob are I think two of us are pretty hardcore builders when we like to get straight to the code and not be setting up for a long time. So Nest.js comes up with a lot of these things out of the box. So if you're looking to build an indexer, these kind of things, with Nest.js, you would focus on building the actual code and not be, focus on setting up. Moving on. So this web app that I showed at the beginning is a similar idea to Nest.js. This one is Next.js, simply because if you want to do a front-end application, you will be doing the same kind of dance where you'll have to set up, good production principles, like good practices, and Next.js takes care of all of that for you. So that's what our application stack looks like. Jacob, do you want to walk us through a bit the current state of the program? I know it's really in flux, but anything
Yeah, I can
interesting to talk about
here.
there?
I can share my screen for this.
Sure.
We'll see if I can share. Here we go.
Add to the scene. All right, there we go.
You see everything?
Maybe a tad bit bigger on the font size.
Okay, as long as you can see it, I can work through that. Okay, so the program side is so if you look at this program, actually let's do a Scala draw first. All right, so the program side, and this is my Scratchpad. Okay, so it's program side, we have a deployer program. So this is the deployer program, and we have a number of instructions that we have to use because we're using also we're basically wrapping the loader v3 program. So there's a number of different things that we need. So first, if we do just wrapping, we need a instruction. So I'm just going to make a little long one here. and do a couple because I'm going to need them. All right, so first we need something like a deploy buffer. We need a deploy program. And these are just instructions that we need. We need claim authority. And we finally need, what is it? Close program, because anybody can close it. And these are the base level, not including any of the information on the vault that I need in order to wrap loader v3 with the deployer program. And basically, instead of the CLI that you use that hits the loader v3 program normally, like Solana deployer or Solana program deploy or anchor deploy, we will have a CLI that you can use to just hit the deployer program, and then everything will just be fine. So I'm wrapping everything. So if we look at the actual code, you can see that all of these are here, plus the 3 instructions. So these are the 3 instructions that you have to use with the vault, where you create the vault, you can deposit to the vault and withdraw whatever state that you had on the vault. And then here are the 4 instructions that you had for the deploy buffer, program, claim authority, and close. So if we look at this, now note, this doesn't work yet all entirely. You can see here me testing, and well, one is passing if I reset the state, but the second test is not yet passing. It's just because I'm hitting some error. But basically, the way that it works is that first you have to create the vault. To create vault's very simple. Like, you don't have to think about that at all, because you just have this PDA that is initialized, just has some vault seed. Great. You pay for it. System program to create programs. Great. That's it. I save the bump in the vault. You're good to go. Like, everybody knows how to do that in Anchor. That's super easy. Where things start getting a little bit more complicated is when you get to deploy buffer, where I have the vault to pull the funds from. I have a program tracking account that basically is it's an account so that we have all the information on the actual program that's being deployed. So we can go look at this real quick. Is just like your program ID that you deployed, the original authority, so that just no one random can take the authority or claim the authority, the cost, the slot, so that I can track time, and then the bump. So that's that. You have your signer. That is, yeah. So that's, or sorry, this is the buffer. There's your signers, the authority. One thing I noticed is that there's no Anchor like compatible crate for loader program. So I had to do everything manually, which is unchecked account. Great. Fantastic. Generally, this is bad practice, but until we have an actual crate that wraps it, this is what we have to do. Ultimately, though, it's pretty easy from here. So we can see that, like, you can obviously see some of this is vibe coded. I literally sent Claude on loader v3 and said, figure this out so that I can integrate it, and then started editing it from there. But we've checked the clock. We do all the stuff for figuring out the rent that we need. We make sure that we grab the signer seeds for the vault, and then we just start creating an account, pulling the rent from the vault, and then we actually start initializing the buffer basically, and just invoking it over and over again. So this one would be hit a whole bunch of times, like you do. If you're not familiar with how loader v3 works and how deploying programs works, is whenever you deploy a program, you actually split your program up into a ton of different little bytes. And then you hit the instruction for deploy a ton, like there's hundreds of transactions, and then at the end you do this little switch over buffer to a program account. So that's a lot of what this does, right? So this is just updating my program tracking account, doing the invoke. You'd hit this a whole bunch, and then at the end you would do the deploy program, which is just a create account, and then the deploy instruction. Yeah, so there's not much to that. And then basically, if you want to claim the authority, whether or not, let's see, yeah, whether or not you have to transfer basically the original cost. If you have it, then you're good to go, and we can set the authority on the program to your specific authority. So yeah, that is what this looks like in the current state. Now, not everything works yet. I'm still testing things, and I was going to wait until I had something at least working, or maybe I'll remove some of the instructions that so that I have some of it working before I push to the repo so that you can then integrate it into your stuff.
Yeah, I think just for people who maybe struggle to see the long-term vision here, is try to think of everything that now you need to do manually with the Anchor CLI. All of this could now be done with an experience a bit similar to how you. I don't want to name drop any other companies, but just as an example, there's a lot of places like Railway, Vercel, or Heroku back then where it's pretty easy to just package something and deploy it. And right now, for us, that costs money. You need to send your production wallet. So the long-term vision is that you now have an API and a CLI and even a user interface where all of this would be, a single deployment that can happen, and you'd be able to reclaim authority after this is done. So should we maybe continue the live development for the rest of the stream? What could
Sure,
be
we
what
can
could
do
be fun
that.
for the rest?
I actually haven't seen I haven't loaded the auth stuff yet. Can you showcase some of the auth stuff you've been working on?
Yeah. All right. I'm just going to do like you and undo the maximize screen so that I can maybe just share my full screen instead.
Yeah, because I haven't seen
Okay.
any of the new auth stuff that you pushed last night.
Yeah, the odd stuff. All right, share this window. All right. So essentially, I don't have really a graph yet, but let me just restart maybe the server so we can see it in action. I always like a nice running UI.
And
One of the nice things that I like,
did you
yeah,
switch everything to Postgres yesterday as well?
I added Postgres. So we have two databases right now. We have Redis for managing keys. Redis is a great option if you need to read data quickly and update it quickly. But the more data you have, the more expensive it gets. So for example, if we'd add to store the outputs of, if we had to replicate all the on-chain data like of a program and we'd like to store logs in Redis, that would become super expensive quickly. So I added Postgres to do the user data, but the API keys are still in Redis as we discussed. All right,
Okay.
this is running. By the way, I'm not sure if you've tried, since we moved to a mono repo, I'm not sure if you've tried, but if you do npm run dev, you can now switch between the two dev servers at the same time. So you start the Next.js one on localhost 3001 and the backend API one on 3000. So both
Oh, that's
work and
cool.
connect at the same time.
How do you switch between that on the same? Is this all
It's,
using the Turbo repo?
yeah, and it's just arrow up, arrow down.
Oh, that's
It's a
cool.
bit
Okay,
organized, almost like a Vim setup for people who are more cracked than me with their keyboards.
got it. That's cool.
Um,
Have you ever wanted to
okay.
learn like the Vim setup that some people do?
I was on it for a few weeks. Never got as quick, and it felt like with more and more of the code going towards like agents and AI, I felt less and less. How can I say? I would like to know it. What about you?
I would like to know it as well because like if you watch some of the people like Primogen or even like Armani, if you've ever seen Armani code for Solana, uh, it's amazing what he can do. I'm just like, how do you do all this? And he's just like, oh, it's easy. But it also explains why some of the bad practices that you've seen in Solana code exist. Like a great example is if you go to Bank RS on Agave, that thing is like 13,000 lines of code.
Oh my
It's
God.
because every single Anza dev is like a Vim user. So it's a
Oh wow.
hilarious thing.
It goes with the vibe, right? It's like if you're an Anza dev or if you write like a lot of hardcore Rust and Anchor, you kind of need to do it in Vim. It's like street credibility at this point.
Right. And answer
Uh,
Toby's question, will this be a platform for bootstrapping program deployments? That's kind of our goal is like this is a platform for program deployments and airdrops. We'll see if we can expand that in the long term.
yeah. Do you guys see the updated? No, you still see my old. I need to understand how to share my entire monitor. Give me a second, because I want to show a bit what the platform looks like just to get like a proper idea.
Cool. Let's see. How do we check how many how many people are? I think because we are on. Yeah, I think because we are on the free version of Restream, it doesn't like tell us live how many viewers we have.
Oh, I have it as the host, but yes, I should switch. We were
Okay.
at 9, we just dropped to 7.
Welcome, 7 people.
Yes, thank you for the emotional support.
Yes, thank you, Kat
Um,
and Bree and Toby.
so so the end, what would this would look like is that you'd have this is in Flux, by the way. So this is like the landing page is all pretty and works, but essentially you'd have your own dashboard. And now my API key creation is fully in being built. But essentially, wait, I think I can show, just let me refresh that so that so when you'd come in, you'd be signing in for now just password authentication,
Mhm.
but you'd be able to sign in with socials, with your wallet, of course. And as soon as you sign up, let me sign in. I think I'll sign up with a new email because I was using like a dumb like a dumb email as always.
Sure.
And we'll see live if it works, hackathon.
We'll also see if everybody starts emailing you after this.
Good. There's only 8 people and half of them have my email already, so we're good.
That's
So
true. That's true.
so we're pretty good there. So as you'd log in, the experience would be similar to if you connect to your typical hosting platform. You'd go to your dashboard and you'd be able to create an API key. You'd be able to say dev key. Right now, it doesn't work already. I'm still in the process of doing it. But essentially, you'd be able to see. So to see the logs and FCI, Toby's asking a good question. Would we be able to see logs and FCI? Spam D, thanks, Kat. So I think we'd first go towards making this CLI base. So I think first, people would log into the CLI and see the logs of it happening. As if making a UI, I think that's for like an end goal. But both of us discussed we have a week to do this hackathon plus our regular jobs. So I think making a UI for the logs and storing the logs and streaming them to the platform is maybe like an added bonus if there's interest in this. But that would be the experience. So you'd have like this old API key would then let you get DevNet airdrops easy, would let you deploy without having like the full program, like the full funds to deploy the programs yourself. You'd be able to also, I think, do you think there would be a feature to allow you to close a program and redeploy it to act a bit like an ephemeral environment, if that makes sense?
I think if it's like not on DevNet, yeah, we could do that. You could do this something like a connection to like Surfpool Cloud, the TXTX cloud stuff, so that you can test with like a ephemeral environment. I think that's totally like a possibility. It would be really cool to have. You can probably just look up Surfpool and go on their
Yeah,
website.
good point. Yeah, I wanted to, because I think Surfpool doesn't get enough love, from the community. I think it's not known enough. Um,
Yeah, I was
so,
using it yesterday. I think there is a bug in the latest build,
oh
but
no,
I did let them know. But yeah, look at like the disk and the memory usage is so much less. Um,
I know this is crazy. And but to me, the biggest part I think that people really need to understand is for example, you're building like a lending protocol, right? You might want to integrate with like stable coins and you might want to integrate with other protocols to see if it works. Right now, doing this on DevNet, if you're not using Surfpool, is kind of a pain. There's a really limited supply of real DevNet protocols that are on there. Like USDC is on there, but I'm not sure you can see like the full AMMs, like the full DeFi protocols are not always fully deployed. And when they are, they're super limited in terms of volumes. So it's hard to really test. So
mhm.
Surfpool is a CLI first approach, a local first approach to doing this. So you can start your Solana validator locally, just Solana, you just start it as usual, and it will clone the accounts that you're depending on mainnet to allow you to work locally. Did I say this right?
Yep. And if you're familiar with Ethereum, this is basically Anvil. It does everything that
Yes.
Anvil does.
Yes, we said the dreaded EVM words on stream. Good thing there's not many people.
It's okay. We have I mean, it's like it's a familiar tool that everybody wants when they go to Solana, and we finally have it through Surfpool. It can copy and paste, or it automatically copies accounts as you're doing transactions if you don't have it locally. It's awesome. Like, it has cheat codes on it too, so it's like you can do a lot of extra things on it. Really, Surfpool, as soon as I was doing the testing last night with it with my program, so that I could see like where they were and make sure that if it was in a good enough state, is basically like Surfpool will be the next iteration for Solana Test Validator, and it will be what I replace Solana Test Validator with once we iron out, I think, this last bug that I ran into.
Nice. So just, I'm a bit newer to the ecosystem from a few months ago. So how big of a difference has the last 12 months been from somebody, building like pre-Anchor or building with like early versions of Anchor maybe a year ago to today?
So in the last year, we've had 2 releases of Anchor, which is not that many, to be perfectly honest. But the differences between a year ago and now, we're currently on 0.31. We're about to be on 0.32. I literally have a block on my calendar right now to go deploy 0.32. But a year ago we were on 0.29. So now we have automatic PDA resolution. Like, if you do, I don't know if you have done native programming, native development with Pinocchio or
Yeah.
whatever.
Mhm.
So when you do that, you have to include like every single account in the
Yes.
transaction call, and not only that, you have to include it in order, in like a very specific order. If you do it wrong, it gives you some weird error, and you're just like, okay, well, I screwed up, and I'm gonna go bang my head until this works, basically. Um, Anchor used to, so it never, Anchor a year ago had the fix where you did, if it automatically figured out the order on the client side. So that was solved. But the problem was that you still had to add all the different accounts that you could possibly require. So between Anchor 29 and 30, there was a big change that allowed you to have PDA auto resolution, to where not only PDA auto resolution, but anything that was like a static account or a PDA would be auto resolved, and so that you only have to send the business logic or the args in your instruction calls. So you can forget all the other PDAs. You can just put the business args, and you're good to go. And that was honestly a huge game changer, because then it became so much easier to build on Solana. And Kodama, I think, has this now. I've been asking for it. I think they said they released it a month ago. So Kodama's finally caught up to that. And then now with Anchor 32 coming out, we're removing a bunch of the problems that you may have run into in the past year. Like, for example, with Anchor 31, you were still building with unstable Rust, building that EL. We are finally not building with that unstable Rust.
Nice.
So I'm very happy about that, with 32. 1.0 will come out later this year, and then 2.0 hopefully very fast follow. I've been told the work that I thought was really hard for 2.0, which is replacing Solana Program with Pinocchio, is actually really easy according to some of the people that I have working on it. So I was like, okay, cool. Just make the PR then. Like, I'm obviously missing something if I think it was hard, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
But yeah, Anchor V1, almost all the PRs are basically just waiting for the 032 to come out. So that will be a very fast follow. And then V2, I've been told, is very simple as well.
That's a big if true. I'll raise my hat to the people who do it if it happens, but I'll be cheering for them.
I mean, the person who told me that it was easy was Arson, and he built his own Solana development framework. So,
Okay. Gotta trust
and
the process then.
yeah, I'm like, and Arson did a bunch of like, I relied a lot on Arson earlier this year for reviews on Anchor. And so he knows Anchor incredibly well.
Awesome. All right. Should we dive into maybe fixing some of the bugs that were
Sure,
popping up?
sure.
So, full disclaimer, I was really fully using Claude vibe coding most of this, which I wouldn't advise. I got to put in the education word just for a second. If you're learning for the first time how to do web dev, how to do Anchor development, skip. skip the AI first. Use AI as like your teacher, but don't use the AI as your coder. That's going to lead to no long-term retention of whatever concepts you're coding. So where I was at pretty much at this point is that we have the user model. So in the API right now we have users. The users can authenticate, they can connect, they are stored into the database. I should be sanitizing those even though we're running in the backend, so I'm not going to get. I don't know for you, Jacob. I'm not a big fan of ORMs. How big are ORMs in the Java world?
ORMs. What does ORM stand for actually?
So an object relationship manager,
Oh,
I think.
yeah, okay. I haven't used them very often. I would have thought I would though. They say they're big, so I guess I just didn't use them very often.
It's just I know for a lot of people, writing their own SQL is something, when they want to focus on the app development, is something they don't do.
Oh, I
But
do
it
that all the time.
must have been.
That's what I did all the time. So I guess I never used them because I just hand wrote SQL all the time.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. Like especially with AI right now, like AI is really good at SQL, so I don't see object relational model. Thank you, Toby. It takes it takes university students to catch us, catch our mistakes.
Yeah, okay. So I
Um,
always used when I was doing Java, I always used JDBC, which is not ORM. I'm looking at it like, hey, people are saying, should I use ORM in Java? And people are often recommending using JDBC over ORM, which is just a connector that you basically doing. It's basically doing what you're doing here. So
okay, perfect.
once
Um,
again, this whole framework feels like Spring for 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 Node.js.
It very much is. It very when you told me you had Java background, I knew I wanted to get started quickly and not, focus on like doing Express for long. So like, okay, Nest.js is
I
an
think
easy
it's
choice.
hilarious. You were like, "Hey, Nest.js," and I was like, "Okay, let's figure this out." And I wrote the airdrop thing in like an hour and a half, and I was like, "Okay, that was easy. Let's just move on to the rest the rest of the work now."
Um, so what I think I'm gonna do now, just for people who are not seeing this, I have a problem when I'm creating an API key. I just say prod. Well, I cannot post to API keys. So I think when I created or vibe coded the user authentication, which is a mix of JWT that you store in the browser, next auth for handling that part in the browser, and just using like authentication on Next.js. I think maybe the part where I authenticated routes. So for example, here we're hitting like this create this like a post request to creating API keys. I think I might have guarded every route just by API key and not by this
Okay.
JWT. So I
So
think that's
your one post to create eight API keys is not.
correct. That's what I suspect. Obviously, when letting an agent work, I don't read every line that's going out. So we're going to have to make that go in.
If we do
So
productionize this, we're going to have to do that.
yes, yes. This is a hackathon, right? So like for
Yeah, it's
everybody
a hackathon.
writing this, just know what you're getting into if you're pulling this on your local.
Yeah, it's yeah.
Um,
Don't expect to deploy this today, please.
no, no, exactly. So I'm just gonna start my technique. I like to run Claude, by the way, in dangerous mode, which is dangerously skip permissions. This is this is
I've seen Claude try to do RMRF star, and I was like, okay, let's not do that.
it committed my .env file, like my env file a few
Uh,
times. So it is not smart to to do.
yeah, I don't allow it for get commands. I kind of make that that's like part of my setup is I'm like, you don't even do any get commands. Those are all me.
Oh, good, good. That's better. I still want to show you a bit what I do when I'm like running this, so that it's not like just full degen mode. So I'll
yeah,
show you right
let's see
after.
let's see how well let's see how you do your show everybody how you do your vibe coding.
Sure. So I normally put it in plan mode. And for that, you need to shuffle with Shift Tab. If you see this little part that I'm highlighting at the bottom, there's the bypass permission. There is just normal mode. Then there's accept auto edits, which you would like because auto edits does edits, but will not run bash commands, will not run git commands. So it skips this bad part. But what I do normally is I put it on plan mode. Toby doing React jokes in the chat.
Yeah. Yeah,
What is
Bree
Bree saying? Oh
Bree
no!
Bree was using it and immediately like committed her private key on her local computer.
Oh no! Oh no! This is so sad.
That's why I was
Yeah,
like,
that's
let's
something.
not like for some like especially this one, right? The ENV has to require key pair. Do not show that
Yes.
on stream.
No.
They-
We're good.
uh,
That's one of the first things you did.
yeah, that was one of the first things I did because I was like, okay, I'm gonna add this dot ignore it because I was like, okay, if I do this wrong, it's just gonna commit my private key, and let's not do that.
Yes. Yes. So this plan mode normally is to force the system prompt of Claude to gather more information. So if, by the way, Claude is really good at reading screenshots. So if you're lazy like me and you don't want to, paste your logs, you can just you can even paste a screenshot that I will just drag and drop onto my screen. Ta-da-ta-da. So this is lazy mode. So the plan mode will say, look, and just as a word of warning to everybody vibe coding, if you just say fix this bug, you're likely not going to get results. If
Yeah.
you just say, look, the post is not working. So if you have an intuition, like I have an intuition that the routes are guarded by API key and are not connected to the OAuth system. So look at this route and try to figure out if it will work with the JWT authentication layer of app. And by the way, when you do like this, if you put like just this, I don't know the word in English, just it will give you the ability to also push in to the context a full folder. And this will give enough information to Claude that they should look into that folder. So what I'm just doing right now, I'm really just trying to give Claude a bug to read information about what I think is happening. I think the problem is that authentication is guarded wrongly. And for me, English is my second language. And sometimes when I talk technically to like you other people on the team, I say stuff that sounds really weird. But Claude is somehow really good at understanding my broken English. So this is why I love coding with this. Sometimes I say stuff that is so stupid, but I know the concept in my brain.
I think a lot of people also have like I think Claude is like this is not broken English, but Claude is used to even more broken English.
Yes.
So it's probably like, oh, this is a breath of fresh air compared to what I usually get. Like, did you see the people that
Yes.
like apparently for OpenAI used 1 trillion tokens or whatever? So
Oh no. Oh no.
they got a
Well,
plaque,
one
which I
thing.
thought was hilarious.
Oh, that's 1 million. That's a lot. But yeah, one thing I always do is I clear my context. So I start like the clear command whenever I do like a specific task.
I
Just
didn't
because.
I didn't know that was there. I always like kill Claude and restart it.
You can, that works. But there's a concept called context rot, like something rotting. And when you reach 130,000 context window, like length, um, when you reach that like big of a length, it becomes stupid. So it essentially just, that's why I clear it every time. It's getting better, but it's still a problem.
Yeah.
So, okay, we have a plan. Oh, looks like the endpoint is not actually non-existent. So that was a bug on its own.
Actually, you don't have an endpoint.
Yes, vibe coding for you.
I mean, if it's probably
So
using middleware for all the JWTs, right? Yeah, the use guards. Okay, so it probably
yeah.
uh it yeah, okay. So even if it did exist, you were probably correct, but didn't didn't run into that. This is turning into a how to Claude live stream. I think it's the best live stream because I'm learning so much from Guy. I remember the first time I saw Guy using Claude, and I was like, "What is going on over there?"
One day I'll do my multi-agent Git tree breakdown, but that's another level which requires a lot of being ready of these concepts first. Is
Yeah.
this working? We have an API key.
Hey, we have an API key now. Everybody can steal our stuff.
Yay! It's good because there's no endpoints,
Yeah,
so
it's only a
it's
local.
not
So
deployed.
it's
You
only a
know
local.
what? I'm feeling so confident. I'm gonna share my API key.
Guys,
Capture the flag.
capture the flag. Yeah, I think if they
Yeah.
capture the flag, that's very scary for you.
Yes. This is not supposed to be deployed anywhere, so
It means that they somehow got into your system, your local computer.
shit.
Yeah, that's a
I'll
little
just
hard mode.
yes, yes. To all
Mission impossible.
the Rectov students who are doing security training on Solana, if you can break this, you get a job wherever you want. We will recommend you, like with Toli, we'll recommend you somewhere.
Yes.
All right. So there's one thing I wanted to try. I wanted to say use the API key to try and test if you can get airdrop. Another thing sometimes people might not know is that TDD is awesome with AI. Using like end-to-end tests or integration tests are awesome. But AI is also amazing at running curl commands to test your code actively. So that's something before writing the TDD, when I'm just testing that, if I don't have time to write TDD and to really, grow the size of my code base. Oh, there's a 500 error. I will often just try to start Claude into testing something, and it will curl on itself. So we'll try to do all of these things
That's
on
pretty
its
cool.
own.
I've never had Claude curl things. I've always, I've had it create like Postman like projects for me, and then I just import into Postman and do it myself. But I've never had
Mm.
Claude do it itself.
Yeah, it's the small things, like I don't know, it's scary. Compared to 2 years ago, I was fully watching this. Bree and the team are so Bree and Kat just know if you want to win the hack, that's how far we're going. So you have to speed up.
Yeah, you better hurry up with your project.
And that last part, anyway, I'm not gonna do because that would require me to open my .env files to see. I know this was working in the past, so I know. Looks like there might have been a few errors of port getting restarted. Anyway, I just wanted to give a bit of an overview. I think we said we'd do like an hour of a
Yeah,
stream.
it's good enough. I mean, if I were to do my errors are not very interesting. I have right now, my error that I'm running into is that I'm using the wrong. Oh, wait a second. I know what this error is. Now that I look at it again, I was looking at the wrong thing. My error right now is that I have a mismatch between addresses that I'm passing in, so I just need to update it. It's basically like when I was coding this, I put the wrong account somewhere, and I just need to figure out where that
Mm,
is at this point. Hopefully, that's all I need to do, and hopefully we can fix that. But
yeah.
that is just my what is it? Which part is this that I'm working on? So I'm creating the vault, and then I was doing the deposit to the vault. I haven't even gotten to deploy program yet because the deploy program. The problem with deploy program in testing that is that I basically have to write the CLI for deploying a program to test
Mm.
it, which just sucks because
Do you want to share a bit and just maybe give an example of what you're gonna like run through?
sure. Here, I'll share my screen and we can just go. Oh, wrong button. And we can just go through like a a Scala draw. And let me close Slack because I realize now Slack is just sending me notifications and I don't want people reading that conversation. That's secret Solana Foundation stuff. Anyways, so specifically for the deploy buffer. So if you're not familiar with like deploy buffer, the way that it works is it takes your program. So we have like this program here to deploy, and it breaks it up into like a ton of tiny little bytes, and these are like 1232 bytes each. I can't even get that into a small container, right? Um, so it breaks up the program into a bunch of little 1232 bytes, even less than that. I think it's like 900 bytes, and it just starts sending each of these as the instruction. So you send basically the information as those bytes to Solana itself. So, whoops. I have, every once in a while, I end up clicking a bunch of buttons. All right, so Solana itself. So it starts sending each of these 1232 bytes. So what I have to do in order to test this is I have to write basically a test. So we're just going to put a CLI because it's basically the CLI. It's going to have all the code of the CLI, which will take my .so file. So this is like program.so, break it up into those 1232 bytes, and then send them all as instructions or transaction instructions with those 1232 bytes over and over again until I finish the entire program. And so this little testing piece is just hell. Like it's not fun to do. But it will allow me to test. It basically will tell me whether or not it fully works. I'm testing it by writing the implementation, unfortunately. And when I'm done, I will then be able to just do the deploy program, which will take the buffer account, and it will deploy it straight up. So this will be like buffer account, and change it to a program data account.
Nice. I'm honestly curious to just, I think the possibilities with this pattern we're putting in place of letting people deploy much cheaper, even for free, and letting people centralize their services behind an API key. Not centralized. This is a bad word because this is open source, right? So this is not centralized.
Right.
But just those patterns are so good in Web 2, or like you often like to say, boomer tech. But they're still hard to learn, right? If you come to Solana, this is like super hard to do right now, doing like on your own all the time.
It's basically you have to learn everything from the ground up, right? One thing that we could do actually is this whole thing, right? CLI to deploy your buffer and everything. It still costs transaction fees. We could make this whole thing gasless, so you don't need anything to get started. Like you could just deploy. Like you don't even have to do an airdrop. Like we were talking about doing airdrops. You can just CLI deploy and it'll just deploy. And if it dies, we just we kill it and reclaim the fees.
So as a key piece of infrastructure, this is kind of seeing the long-term vision. This is kind of enabling people to get started, write your own Rust code. Eventually, maybe Claude eventually gets good enough to write the anchor part for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So it starts to bring people like product managers or bankers, people who understand like internet capital markets. It starts to be like one of these layers where if you build and you abstract more on top of it, anybody can start building, right? So like that, the long-term vision could get there.
Yeah, it also ultimately decreases the amount of time to get started, right? I think it's basically what you're saying, right? So it decreases the amount of time that it gets started, and it also makes it to where you can do more complex things without having to wait for the airdrops to come through.
Yes.
Like some people, every once in a while, we get like a request like, "Hey, I need more." I need more SOL because my program that I'm deploying to DevNet costs 25 SOL or something crazy. That's like what? It's the 3 meg program. It's a lot of lines of code. That's probably like the size of like Drift. I would take a guess. So that's fantastic. But it would be very difficult to deploy that, and you couldn't deploy that first day. So let's make the barrier to entry very low to get started with just airdrops and deploying programs, and to where you don't even have to think about it. And then the problem that we have, right, is that DevNet Sol is finite. And so
Yes.
I can't just give you DevNet Sol to deploy programs all the time if you're just going to leave the next day or something and never come back to Solana. This will solve that problem as well, because we have all these, I think we have like 50,000 programs just sitting dead on Solana DevNet
Oh no.
that have been unused completely. That's the last time I checked. It's probably a lot more now. But we could have reclaimed a lot of those DevNet Sol and brought it back into the airdrop service, so that we can then distribute that to newer developers.
Nice. I think it's a good time to end the first stream.
Yeah,
Thanks for supporting me in my first time getting be on camera. Not as stressful as I thought.
you're a natural, Guy. I think you're actually really good at streaming.
Thanks. If one day people who know me know I've been pretty nomadic for a few years, so if one day I'm not homeless anymore, maybe I'll do this more frequently.
Just have the on the road streaming setup, or do what like
Yes.
all the normal like real life streamers do, and they're just like anywhere they're streaming. Or like you may have seen what Primogen, he's like streaming on the beach or whatever. He's building games right now.
Oh my God. Okay, who knows? Maybe tonight, if I get back at I'll do a bit of health focus for a few hours. I'll get maybe I'll stream vibe coding tonight. I'll
All right,
see.
cool. I look forward to watching it.
All right. Thanks everybody for joining. Professionally homeless. Yeah, Kat and me live a similar homeless professionally lifestyle, so we understand each other on this.
Makes sense. All right, yeah. Thank you everyone for joining.